Welcome, everyone. My name is Sawyer Dennison. Today we'll be talking about gun control. Let's just take a minute to introduce ourselves and just talk about our accounts and give our account names. I'm The Political American on Instagram.
I am Teens for Trump 2019.
And I'm campus conservative.
So let's kind of talk about our um, policy or our opinions on it. So, do you guys think that any gun law whatsoever is infringement on gun control, or what? What is your stance?
My stance is, yeah, you shouldn't make uh, laws about guns at all. Like, it is an infringement, in my opinion. But the president, when he did the bump stock ban, like, I understand it on why he did it to like appeal to like the left and like moderates. So like, I kind of gave him a pass for that. But like, yeah, I do see it as an infringement. What about you, Cantus?
Well, yeah, I see it as infringement too, but he hasn't banned an actual gun, and I think bump stocks are completely dumb. They throw off your aim. That doesn't really help at all. And then now with the suppressors, I mean, to be honest, I don't know much of what they are, but I did just see an article where he said he would consider a ban, but he doesn't like the idea. So I don't know if he'll do it. I hope he doesn't do it because he's going to probably lose some libertarian votes for it, and people are gonna be pretty mad. Like I wouldn't enjoy it, but it's not gonna stop me from voting for him.
Well, I mean,
Exactly.
he said that in the Pierce Morgan um, interview, right? When he was over in England for all the ceremonies and stuff. And Pierce Morgan was, which I don't know why he was interviewing with Pierce Morgan, but
Yeah.
Mhm. Wait, so he said that he wouldn't enjoy the ban if he. That's when he said that.
yeah, he said he would look into banning silencers, I think. Um,
Uh,
I don't
my
think he would
stance,
actually do that.
which, I mean, that's what I thought about bump stocks too, so I'm not so sure. I was talking to another page on Instagram, Deaf Patriot, and he's
uh,
against any gun law because his stance on it is if a criminal is allowed to walk the streets and you think they're safe enough to walk around women and children and just anyone, then they should be able to have a gun to protect themselves in their homes.
well, yeah, that's which is why if he bans an actual gun, then we're gonna have a serious problem because I definitely would
Mm-hmm.
not like if he banned an actual gun. I'm
Yeah,
still kind of
exactly.
iffy. I'm still kind of iffy with the bump stocks, and then now talking about the suppressors and stuff, but they're just accessories. So I'm not full on mad, but they're still definitely infringements.
Mm-hmm. I love our president, but I think it almost opens a door for more to happen and more to come.
Yeah, like definitely whoever, if he doesn't win in 2020, then people are like, oh, okay, because like I'm definitely a Trump supporter, but the people that are like make excuses for everything he does, supports everything. They don't think for themselves. Like those type of Trump supporters, they don't care about it. So they're opening the door for whoever gets voted in 2020, if it's not Trump, to let them ban more stuff because they think, all right, people will just be okay with it.
Yeah. You know, a lot of arguments that the left has against guns is uh, the Second Amendment doesn't like protect your modern guns, you know? And
Oh yeah.
my argument for that is it does, you know? Like,
Oh yeah, definitely
I'm
does.
sure they had in mind when they were writing that in 50 years or 100 years, we're going to have a lot of gun advancements. And then they wrote it, you cannot infringe upon that. So, you know, I bet they had that in mind. And it does do that.
Well,
Yeah,
what do
especially
they think they meant? Because it's not like we're going to have some of the old muskets fighting off the military
Exactly.
in case the military gets out of hand. Because that's why it's not necessarily to duck hunt or hunt of any kind, and it's not really even about defense. It's that if the government gets out of control, that
Exactly.
we can put them back in their place.
Yeah. And like,
yeah, especially. Or sorry, go ahead.
okay, so like, and like, yeah, like you said, they didn't make the Second Amendment so you could defend yourself or do all that stuff. They made it so you could have a well regulated militia so you could use it against the government if it goes corrupt. And that's exactly what it's for. And a lot of liberals say, well, that's not going to happen because our government can't go corrupt. Well, it happened in just 76 years ago, 1933, when Hitler rose to power, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
it can still happen, and Hillary almost won, so it almost did happen. But yeah, that's what I think about that.
Especially when the First Amendment applies to computers and all that stuff. So if it applies to that, why can't it apply to modern guns and all that stuff? It doesn't make any sense. And especially also that back then the government had muskets, the citizens had muskets. Now citizens have just regular guns. The government has tanks and all that stuff. So it's not an equal playing field now.
Also, here's an interesting thought. There wasn't abortions back then, obviously, but they're trying to say abortion is a constitutional right. And so if guns weren't meant, or if there's a different definition of gun now, then why does abortion stand in the Constitution? Which obviously doesn't.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
You know,
Also,
you go ahead.
I was going to bring up another point. If you're going to keep talking about this, then you can go ahead.
No, bring up another point.
Well, I was just going to say, they like to bring up the fact that, like, in the UK it might have worked, Australia it worked, when in reality no one has ever looked into it. When it never worked in Australia, the UK, pretty much any place that has gun control, it has never worked. As soon as they banned guns, their violent crime rate went up because no one could protect themselves.
Yep. Yeah. Like in Australia, that's like the gun crimes went up. Home invasions went up when they tried to ban guns.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Well, I mean, the reality of it is you can't change a criminal's heart because the U.S. is not even in the top 100 according to PRI.org for annual homicide rates. And it's not, and that you could say that's whatever, but it's because we don't have the most evil people in the world. We have guns to defend ourselves from others, and you can't change a criminal's heart. So, like England, they may not have guns, and they may have only have like 30 some gun killings a year, but the homicide rate is so much higher, and that's because the people over there are evil and they're taught bad morals.
Yeah, like Japan, right after World War II, after they got clapped, they implemented like strict not gun control, but what's the word? Pacifist morals. So they didn't fight, they didn't want to do anything. And then I think maybe 10, 15 years later, then they put gun control. So then I've seen that they try to use Japan as an example too. But you can't say that just because they implemented gun control, but 10 years before they started being more pacifist and just didn't do any killings or anything, because now they have like almost a zero murder rate per year. So
Yeah.
that's not a very example to use Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it has to start with the high schools and public schools teaching them what is right and what isn't right. And then also not making shooters' names public, because then it gives them some kind of wanted fame that is grossly evil that they'll just keep on trying to achieve.
Exactly.
Yeah, like the kid.
Like
Go
on
ahead.
the news, if they like never even said about like a school shooting, never said the name of them, like I bet that the number of school shootings would go down, because a lot of the reasons why people or students try to shoot up their school is because they want the attention. They want everybody to know that they did that.
Yeah, they're the kids that never get picked for anything, the ones that never hang out with anyone, sit alone, get made fun of. Like, I don't know about you, Sawyer, but me and teens are still in high school, and you always see those kids that are sitting by themselves sometimes and all that stuff, and they're the ones that want the attention. And when they see on the news that, hey, this guy got attention for doing this, maybe I could do this and get some attention, and it's scary.
Yeah. I'm not going to completely blame it on left media or fake media, but you know what they're doing. They're trying to amplify it almost to make it seem like guns is the biggest problem in America and that we just have to do something instantly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like I hate that thing where it's saying guns are so bad. Like, okay, so I have a gun safe like maybe 30 feet from me right now. Like, I have never shot one that's in the gun safe, and my dad hasn't shot them in a while. Not once have they came out of that gun safe and tried to do anything. So that's the worst example ever, saying guns kill people when
Mm.
they cannot kill anyone without a person behind it.
Yeah, there are more knife deaths than gun deaths. Like, there are more people that die because of getting stabbed than getting
Mhm.
shot. That amazes me
Mhm.
too.
You
You
can't
know?
change a person's heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's more people that die from getting beat by hammers than that are killed by rifles each year.
I was actually looking at this pro gun control argument because I like to look at both sides. And it was talking about how when there's a gun in the house, there's a higher chance of suicide. But the left is the party of suicide. They don't value life at all. They value abortion. They think if you want to end it, then you should just be able to end it. Because they are the side that is pro pharmacy physician assisted suicide drugs, such as Sedarbartol or other drugs like that. So if you want to completely stop suicide, then why are you selling drugs that help end people's lives that are literally meant for ending someone's lives? But you want to take away a gun that was just used in ending someone's life out of protection mostly. But banning guns would be like banning depressed music or something of that nature, because it's like, well, it's there for a depressed person. Well, so is depressed music, because depressed music does basically and virtually the same thing.
Also, what was I say? Crap. Oh yeah, and no one also mentions, especially the media, that since like the 90s, gun ownership has went up, and since then, our violent crime rate has steadily gone down at the exact same rate. And no one wants to mention that, but that's obviously a very clear correlation that more guns save lives. Like in, I wouldn't say it's like Switzerland or Sweden, one of the two. You're forced. Each house is forced to own a gun, and they have like almost a very very low gun death rate, excluding suicides.
Yeah.
In early America times, it used to be required that all heads of households, sometimes including women, would have to own guns, and in some laws in states like Connecticut, the men would be forced to bring guns to public gatherings, like such as churches or public meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, no guns, like, allowed, the signs that say, like, gun-free zone and all that. Those don't work. Like, if a shooter walks by and they have a gun in their pocket and they see a sign, do you think that's going to stop anybody from going in there with a gun? Like, that's just dumb.
Oh yeah.
Even, like, if the Good Samaritan saw that sign and they're like, oh, crap, I got a concealed carry, so I'm going to go put that in my car. They put it in their car, they walk in, and then a shooter walks in, starts shooting it up. Like, those are completely, like, terrible. Like, you shouldn't have a gun-free zone, which that'll just disarm the good people and keep the armed people there, the bad people.
Majority of the mass shootings have been in gun-free zones. Obviously look at all the school shootings. Those are gun-free zones. The Las Vegas shooting, I'm almost certain that concert venue was a gun-free zone. That Orlando nightclub, I think was a gun-free zone, but don't hold me to it. But they obviously can see that gun-free zones are where they target. No one's gonna go attack a place that has a sign out front that says everyone is welcome to open carry here.
Let me ask you guys something. Let's look at this through the eyes of a libertarian. Do you think you should be allowed to have guns in a no-gun zone? Should a private company be allowed to say no guns in their space?
I say
no,
because that, like, that doesn't work, for one, and then, like, I don't know why they would have a gun-free zone. Like, honestly, I get it in a school, like, where students aren't allowed to bring in guns, obviously, but like, teachers or, like, trained people, not like every teacher, but like trained teachers who know how to use it should be able to have a weapon. Because if you hand out more weapons to everybody, if everybody had a concealed carry pistol, then gun crimes would go down, because one guy would shoot at you, you shoot him back, like, but if you didn't have a gun, they shoot you, what are you gonna do? You know?
Yeah.
You're gonna die. I mean, there's not much you can do. It's
Mm-hmm.
insane. Um,
The
yeah, but
argument,
back to
though,
the,
is do private companies have the right? Because not necessarily public schools, because that's government owned.
Mm-hmm.
But as a private company, let's say I opened up a store for clothes or whatever, and I want to ban guns in that store. Do I have the right as a private business owner, or do they have the right to carry?
They
well,
should
it
always
depends
have the
on.
right to carry. Like, just like a company should be able to decide whether you can defend yourself or not, no matter where you are, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get
Yeah,
it
I
if you're
think
a kid in school, even though that's a government owned, but like a private company should not be able to make that decision.
I think the private company would though have the right to ask them to leave, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. Hmm.
If it makes
Oh
them
yeah.
uncomfortable or anything.
Yeah. Even though I don't know why that would make them uncomfortable because, well, see,
Yeah.
you don't know if they're a good guy or a bad guy, you know? So, like, it's kind of
Yeah.
hard.
Well, I mean, it doesn't even need to be justified. They just need to have the freedom, even if it's dumb.
Yeah.
All right. I'm looking at this website right now, just looking at its interesting gun control stuff, and this one's a real good fact that over 50% of the gun murders occur in just 2% of the country, which I'm going to assume is like, Chicago, New York, LA, San Francisco, those big cities.
Mm-hmm.
And 80,
That praise
90%,
gun control.
yeah, 80, 90% of those are all gang related. So they try to dispute out like, oh man, you're going to get shot as soon as you walk outside your house, when in reality, no, there's a small chance that you're going to get murdered by someone by a gun. Like, because majority are gun related, are gang related, and drug related, and that's where a lot of the gun control is. And you can always see that those gangs don't care about the laws.
Yeah. Also, if you take out, like, if you take out the big cities with strict gun laws like Chicago, all the big cities, if you take all those out, we would be hundreds of like the lowest gun like crimes ever. Like if you take those out, like we're like third in like gun deaths per year. And
Mm-hmm.
if you take those cities out, we drop significantly down the chart.
And if you think
Yeah.
about it, we're not anywhere near the top in just homicides in general. And so even though we have guns and we're using them, we're not murdering people nearly at the rate of other countries.
Yeah.
Even the mass shootings, we're not even ranked in the top 10 in the world per capita for mass shootings. But everyone thinks that America is the land of mass shootings.
Yeah.
I mean, I would feel more safe in America rather than England because here's the thing. Even though Pierce Morgan says there's 38 shootings a year in England or whatever the number is, you're more likely to get stabbed or beaten or much worse things over there rather than shot in America.
Yeah, like, an acid attack and hit by a car that rams into a whole group of people. Yeah, England is not very safe either. Yeah, I read somewhere that London has a higher murder rate than New York does.
Yeah. Guns are not the problem. Like people like we need to ban guns. Banning guns is going to fix all our problems. That is not the problem. The people is the problem. And if you can't
Exactly.
fix the people, what are you going to do? That's the real question because you can't ban guns because Australia proved that gun crimes would get worse if you try to ban guns. And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
We're such a gun-oriented country, too, that if we do ban guns, it'll create a huge black market imbalance.
Well,
exactly.
and no one's going to turn them in. Just look at the bump stocks. 4% of the people that 4% of the all owned bump stocks were turned in. So obviously people are not going to turn in their guns. People are going to have to the government's going to have to come and take them, and that's not going to
Yeah.
end well either.
Yeah, that would end in a lot of deaths all across the board if they tried to ban guns. Because I know a lot of people who own guns who are not going to give their guns up for anything, which
Yeah,
they shouldn't.
Yeah, that would end in what the libertarians want to call the boogaloo. That would end in that.
Yeah. Also, I don't know why they think banning guns is going to change anything, because the good people, let's say the good people do end up turning their guns in. What about the criminals who got their guns illegally, or the criminals who aren't going to turn in their guns? What about those people? You take the guns out of the good people's hands, and the bad people still have guns, you know? So that would just be terrible. And they contradict themselves, too, because they say, don't build the wall's racist, blah, 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 blah. Well, a lot of drugs and guns come from the border. So if you're against the wall, then you should be for guns. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but yeah.
Imagine if we would have had gun control hundreds of years ago, or even just recently, because look at the Civil War. If there wouldn't have been guns, then there wouldn't have been a civil war. Most likely.
Exactly.
That's-
and slavery
that's
would
a lot
still
of people.
exist.
Yeah. And so guns really do positively affect the U.S. and other countries.
Yep.
Man, this has really been a good podcast
Yeah.
or whatever you want to call it. It's been
Yeah.
good.
We've had some good conversations. So do you guys want to wrap it up? Because we're kind of slowing down a little bit.
Can I read one of my favorite Alex Jones quotes before we move on?
Sure.
Yeah.
So you remember the Alex Jones Pierce Morgan debate or whatever you call it on CNN
Oh, yeah.
all those years ago,
Oh, yeah.
where it was pretty much just Alex Jones yelling at Pierce Morgan the whole
Yeah.
time, which it was hilarious and amazing. But my favorite quote from that is, Hitler took the guns, Mao took the guns, Stalin took the guns. If you try and take my gun, 1776 will commence again.
Oh yeah, I love that quote.
You
Yeah,
know,
that's a good one.
my favorite quote from Alex Jones is, I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of retarded.
You know, I went back and watched that podcast the other day. Yeah, but that's an amazing podcast.
Yeah.
The thing, you have to be kind of careful with Alex Jones, though, because a lot of the things he says, about half, are really out there, and you're not sure if you can trust them at all.
there, like the government and the aliens kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know? But like, he has a point about a lot of the stuff he says.
Yeah, he's an intelligent guy. It's just you have to be careful, and some of the things he says are so smart.
Yeah, he's a genius.
And then he says stuff about how the government puts stuff in the water that turns frogs gay. I mean, I don't know how about that, but
They did find that some frogs are gay, so I don't know about the government putting it in the water to make them gay, but some of them are gay.
So he actually said that.
yeah,
Yes.
he said that they put chemicals in the water that turn the frogs gay.
See, he says some crazy out there stuff, but like some of the other things he says is like pure genius, like only a genius could come up with. So he's kind of retarded, and like he's kind of not. He's kind of a genius.
I watch his show just to support him because I like him. He seems like a fun guy. But
Yeah.
I was watching it the other day when he was talking about the ban on silencers, or at least Trump looking into it, and he said, "Trump, I'm warning you." And then he went through and basically threatened Trump, and he said, "Trump, you've been warned."
Yeah, man, I love Alex Jones so much. People say like he's like mentally ill, and I could see how like they could think that, but like some of the things he comes up with is just beyond me. You know, he's a genius, and sometimes
He looks like
he's a
fun guy.
genius,
He
and
looks like-
sometimes he's not.
Which he honestly thinks he's a psychic.
Yeah, yeah. What were you saying, Ken?
And-
all right. I was saying he looks like a fun guy to hang out with. He looks hilarious.
Yeah, man, I would love to have a conversation with him. You know, I would also love to go on Joe Rogan's podcast. That would be so much fun. You know,
Oh, yeah,
just
that would be
Especially
talk
with
about-
a big political figure, too.
Yeah, you know, I really love Joe Rogan just because, yeah, he's a Democrat. He considers himself a socialist, but like, he's like open to having conversations, and he has right-wing people on, left-wing people on, moderates on, like everything. So yeah, I really like him. He's very open to have a conversation with anybody.
And he willingly calls out the left-wing media when they're acting up.
Yeah, like if the Democrats are being idiots, he'll be like, dude, I can't believe they did this. They're idiots, you know? Like he'll call them out on it.
I didn't
Mhm.
even realize Joe Rogan was a Democrat. I thought it'd be like a hardcore like anarchist or libertarian or something.
I
Oh,
thought he'd be a
you brought up
libertarian, but he says he's a
you brought up a good
Democrat.
point yesterday on Text Campus. You were talking about some form of radical libertarian, and I was like, waiting to ask you to expand on that.
Oh yeah, like the radical form, like full on anarchists that don't think we should have any government. They hate everything. Like,
Because
um,
the anarchists, they don't believe in leaders, right?
Yeah,
yeah, I'm pretty sure.
complete anarchy, no form of government. That's like crazy.
Like, Red Coat Rebellion, he's a good example. Like, nothing against him. He has a great page. He's a really cool guy. But I just don't agree with him saying we shouldn't have any leaders and all that. I don't agree with him on that. But he's a cool guy and a really great account.
See, I would love to ask him if like how are you gonna distribute like food to everybody and like stores and all that? How are you gonna get all that stuff? You know, because
Hey,
without a
yeah,
government controlling like all of that stuff, then it's gonna be very difficult to regulate stuff like that.
yeah, I'm definitely like as small as government as we can get, and they need to stop regulating so much stuff. But I think we need to have just a
A
little
little
bit just
bit,
to
you
make sure
know?
that,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
like
runs
like
smooth, so
Reagan's
everything runs
policy,
smoothly.
yeah,
like what Reagan believed. Which without a leader, it'd be one side pulling America left and one side pulling it right, to where it would just tear apart.
yeah. You know, I believe that we have a good chance of actually having a civil war. I don't think we will, but like I think there is a chance, and like just because of how like America is divided right now. I think the
Oh,
majority of people are Republicans, but like I think America is very divided right now. I do think that
Mhm.
Trump is also going to win in a landslide in 2020. They're going to make up an excuse like he colluded with more Russians or the Chinese or something because he likes to bring up China a lot. But they're going to make some excuse, you know, and
oh yeah,
yeah, he's going to win by a landslide in 2020 for sure.
What I'm worried about though is the people voting illegally, whether they're voting 2 or 3 times, or the illegal immigrants voting
Oh yeah. If
that don't
if
have
the
that right.
if the
yeah,
Democrats
essentially.
like collude like and like mess with the election, that's the only way a Democrat's gonna win in 2020. I'm telling you right now, there's
Well,
no
yeah, they
way
don't.
that Trump isn't gonna win.
Trump
Yeah, they
said,
don't
or
have like.
I think it was Ben Shapiro that said Trump needs around 45 plus of the popular vote to win, and if it gets to 30s, then he'll probably lose because he has the electoral college. He'll win that.
Yeah,
Um, well, like crap. Oh yeah, I would say like if he doesn't win in 2020, I could definitely see civil war or something coming on because like if Bernie Sanders somehow wins or Elizabeth Warren, like then it would be bad. Boogaloo, I could see coming.
yeah,
Or
I
if
was
we
gonna add
saw
another.
a split like when Bush lost, because Bush was on his first term and he was going into the next campaign. But then there was that third party running. He was independent, and that's how Bill Clinton won because the third party guy got 20% of the votes, and he was more conservative minded.
yeah. So since the podcast thing is kind of slowing down a little bit, let's start wrapping it up. Do you guys have anything else to say?
No, I think I'm good.
Like and subscribe, support all our channels. Thank you guys.
Yeah, there is a good thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
follow
make
Teens for
sure.
Trump 2019. Follow Campus Conservative and the Political American on Instagram.
And Democrats.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and Democrats will
Democrats.
continue to be here.
Democrats isn't here this time, but they'll for sure be here next time. So make sure to follow all of our channels or accounts, and we'll see you in the next one.